police come knocking at the door. We've had some complaints. Can you stop putting this on vehicles because it's illegal? So that's an official car parking fine. Well.
Liam, for those who perhaps don't know exactly what you do or who you are, do you want to give us the brief introduction and then we'll dive into the story?
Yeah, so I'm Liam Hopkins, also known as Lazerian. I'll go into what Lazerian means later on, but I'm kind of a hybrid artist, designer, sculptor with bits of engineering in there and lots of other things which years ago was frowned upon, that you need to stay in your own lane. And I hate being told what to do. So I kind of found my own way as a creative. I love making stuff, physical things that you can see. A lot of 3D installations, about using materials that's had usually another life or as sustainable as possible from day one. Been pretty fun. And summing up pretty much me.
Brilliant. So, I mean, we'll have seen. I don't know. Does anybody remember the guitar trail that was around Manchester just recently? You will have seen that enormous dome made of guitars in was it Mayfield?
Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, so it started in St. Peter Square outside the library. So it was there for 10 days and then moved it over to Mayfield where it was there for, I think it was about 6 weeks. And this was a beautiful project really, and do you want me to just dive in and...
Well, tell us about this one, then we'll rewind back. It's the most recent one I think of when I think of you, so yeah, tell us about it.
So I was asked if I'd up for creating an installation for the city, and it was about music and celebrating the massive kind of history and effect that we have as a city worldwide. But in all my work, I really love the kind of narrative and a meaning behind it. So I knew that I wanted to have actual instruments in there, but getting people involved. So I put a call out for people to donate guitars. And I wanted this sense where people come and have this almost kind of sanctuary within the city where the city plays the guitars. So I wanted the weather, because the weather is very iconic and connected to Manchester as well. Usually rain. So I wanted the city to be able to have a play of the people's instruments really. So on the top of this cathedral-esque dome shape, there was a big flag, and the flag captured the wind, and I had these series of armatures. So as the flag went round, these armatures spun round, and I had just food spatulas cable tied to it, which then plucked the guitar. And what was beautiful about it is that they were all out of tune. But when you've got hundreds of guitars playing at the same time, it doesn't matter. It's just this kind of beautiful wind chime that changes throughout the day depending on whether it's quite damp, the strings change, whether it's so it was always changing. And depending on the wind, you just have these different things. So if it was, because the one at St. Peter Square was totally different to Mayfield, because it was in between two trees. The wind captured back and forth, so it almost had the same strum. Whereas Mayfield, it was just wild. It was just it was great. So yeah, it was a beautiful project there to kind of bring all these donated guitars from the public, and some really nice feedback from them people where it was from some beautiful emails from people saying, it was from loved ones who passed away and they didn't know what to do with these old guitars. The fact that it could, be put on this thing and be part of this overall, sculpture that's what made it pretty special. So yeah, that's what that was about.
Brilliant. Take us back to like little Liam, and like, were you always going to do this? Was it always?
My dream was that I wanted to be an architect.
Okay.
Well, from being as young as I can remember, I always kind of loved forming different materials, especially on the sheer scale. So I was kind of always looking at kind of buildings and big structures and kind of like, you know, how concrete can change in totally different form to steel, and then you've got the kind of rigidness of bricks, but then all put together. And my mind was just like, oh wow, how actually you can use a different material to create totally different forms and effects. And I always loved making, like, literally, like, taking things apart. I remember, you know, going back, I was like really young, and the VHS, you know, I thought I was like a little person, so I used to feed it toast. And so I fucked the video player up. So my mum was like, "What's going on?" So they got this guy come out and took it. It's like, there's a load of toast in it. So I was like, that's like, because it was hungry. So, and then he ended up like, when he took it apart and I seen the inside of this VHS player, like, wow, it's like another world, you know, like how this thing connects to this. And then it just triggered up in my mind, was like, you know, actually there's so much kind of infrastructure in things that you never see, but there's beauty. And it just then led me to then take more shit apart and never put it back together. And my mum was like, what are you doing? And then when I got to, I was about 14, and then there was some friends of mine that were a bit older, and they had Vespers. I really want a Vespa.
Tell me it's the Vespa.
So I went to there was a local scooter shop, and I was like, can I get a Saturday job? So they said, yeah. So then I spent 3-4 years learning, well, working with them, taking old vintage scooters apart. And that, I think, was a great thing to understand, kind of process that things take time. But you've got to make a mess of something before you can get it better. It was a great understanding, you know, as much like mechanics and things, but then like social wise, well, and culture wise, going to scooter rallies and things with the guys there. It was amazing. And then I bought a Mini for 50 quid off my mum's friend, and I rebuilt that. And then I went to Tameside Technical College.
So at this point, are you still thinking you're going to be an architect? So you're thinking you're going to be
Yeah. So like,
mechanic?
no, like I knew I didn't want to be a mechanic. That was just like a hobby and something that I was really interested in. But I've always in my mind kind of added to it as a library of things, you know, that like it might not be where you want to go, but it adds to them things, you know what I mean? And so I've done loads of different stuff, but I've always loved classic vehicles and things that've got so much more character than new ones. So yeah, I always wanted to be an architect, and then I hate screen. I love art and design. They were like the two like passion things that like I wasn't very good at some other subjects. The school wasn't very creative, so they frowned upon. I remember the form sheet going, you know, what are you doing? You're never going to make a living in doing anything in the creative industry. So I think that someone told me I can't do something, and I'll make sure I can. And luckily there was a really good careers advisor, and sat down with him, explained what I wanted to do, and he put me on the course at Tameside College that was 3D design, but this was before computer aided design, really. So it was a national diploma. So you did ceramic, glass, metal, wood, like drawing, so there was like art day photography in there. So it was overall it was amazing. And then I could still go down the architecture route if I needed to. rather than doing traditional other subjects. So that was like a breath of fresh air because I fucking hate school. And then from there, I realised that I didn't want to be an architect because I loved the making as much as the actual draftsman and being at a computer. It's like after being at a computer for half a day, I'm frustrated. I want to get out and I want to make something. And I realised that I don't want to spend my life frustrated. So I found basically an add-on to what I was doing. So I did 3D design again at Manchester School of Art, and it was another 3 years of understanding materials. And I was never really worried about outcomes then. So like tutors and things were pushing more towards each individual project and things, but in the back of my mind, like I tried to understand how you blow glass, how you can, how you can. So I wasn't too bothered about the outcomes or something. I just kind of seen it as a bit of a playground to actually understand the basics that is then the foundations for where I wanted to go. I knew that I was working with myself, so like I knew that after it, I then like find my own way and got this understanding that I can make things, and then yeah, so that's how I got into where I am now. So it was at Manchester School of Art, but it was 3D design. So that I think is where like the kind of hybrid and the crossover between the design and the art comes from, because it wasn't like a rigid industrial design course or a product design course. It was quite open really, and I think looking back, quite lucky to find that course rather than being too forced down a route that I didn't feel was. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
It gives me more options.
So how do you get going? Because it's like plenty of us have dreams of being an artist and making a living from it. Not many make that big jump. Maybe it always remains a hobby, or maybe we're paid for a few projects. But in terms of becoming do you remember your first commission? Was it straight out of that you started? Or?
It was straight out of university, and I actually got my first studio. I think it was about 3 months before graduating. So where my partner's from, there's a little town called Mosley, and we went for a walk, stumbled across this old mill, and so went in. I went to the top floor, and we started to division it out into smaller units. So I inquired, and they basically was like, if you take it on now, I think they offered me 3 or 4 months free rent because they were literally at the beginning of dividing it up. And then it's like, I think it's £200 a month. So I was like, you know what, I'll take the risk of doing it. And bear in mind, I come from a working class background, we're brought up never really have much money. It was always a case of using what you had, and so, I've never been fortunate enough to be handed, money to go out and do stuff. So I've always worked for it, and if I want something, I get that drive to make it happen. It's either you fucking sink or you swim. And I when I set up I kind of knew that I want to go in it full, and not do it as a part-time thing, because if I do that, I want to get comfortable on a part-time salary, which is then like, well, it's not really going to work, because then you've always got a comfort zone is never good. It's all right when you go to sleep in your bed, and my dad always told me that you should always have a good pair of shoes and a good mattress. You're not in one, but apart from that, I think that you should be in an area where you kind of have some adrenaline to go and do it, and not sure where it's from, because that's where the excitement is. Yeah.
So some would find that stressful, but you found that a driver.
Yeah, because I think, you've got to make it work then. And if it doesn't, I've always gone through life having no regret. It's kind of, I'd rather try something than say that I've never tried it. And I'm also a big believer that things happen for a reason, You've got to try and make something of it. I think a lot of people expect it to come and knock on your door, and it doesn't really happen unless you go out and do the foundations and the stepping stones to open them doors.
So you find this mill, you've taken it on, but then finding clients is a different thing. So
Yeah.
how did you go about it, and what was the first?
So from university, there is a degree show down in London at the Business Design Centre called New Designers. So the uni takes on like a bunch of students from I think it's still, and then they go down and there's all different, split into 2 weeks, so you've got like different disciplines first week, and it's all the kind of creative industries. And so I picked up a little commission from there. It wasn't big, but it was, it was staff. And then I had
What was it?
It was a chair, basically a chair. Because when I started Lazerian, so when I finished uni, in my head, I wanted to have a lifestyle brand. I wanted Lazerian as a basically beautiful design and made furniture and lighting and accessories.
Right.
So that's where I started pushing things out. So I had a rocking chair, which I started with, which is one of the pieces that I did at uni, and that was one of the products that I put in the line, and so that was one of the commissions that come off that. And so I started to put that out there, and then I got another commission to design and make a reception desk for a salon. And then a few little bits like make this like start. It was a big picture frame, and then once done them 3 or 4 jobs, it was like fucking hell. I've got nothing now. And then I got £200 a month studio bill, and nothing really coming in. And I was like, what do I do? So I didn't have money to go and get a business card made, and so I decided to make some little objects. So I had a load of scrap oak length. So I cut all the oak up into little sculptural objects, and then I was like, well, but then if I go in and meet people that I think will commission me or interested in Lazerian as a brand, and then leave them with this little object that's got a little bit more meaning than just a bit of card. So that opened a few doors and a few nice conversations with different outlets and things. At this point,
and who are the type of people you were, and were you just knocking on doors, on the phone?
all of that. Because I was thinking about this the other week, and it's like 20 years ago was a totally different way of doing business than now. I remember having the yellow pages that I took with me to the studio. I'm like looking through the yellow pages, just like I think about it now. It's kind of like, my word, like this is mental.
People have no idea what you're on about. The yellow pages, VHSs. What are you talking about?
So no one knows that basically yellow pages was like for your area. So like for the northwest, it'd be a telephone box for businesses. So you'd look through. So I want to work with a production company. So then you go through, and then they give you a list. So basically,
If you
an analog version of.
You printed out Google on yellow paper. That's what it was.
So you imagine like across the country, then there's hundreds of different yellow pages. It's crazy.
Yeah, I remember chatting to someone who was started their career as a yellow pages salesman, and they were like the mafia. There was like thousands of people who go and sell yellow pages. Anyway, carry on.
So yeah, so literally was researching local ones that I could go in and see. Don't get me wrong, Google was there, but it was at its early stages, so not everything was on there. And then went out and met people, and then through that I got a commission to design some stuff for Callaway Golf Club, and I managed to convince him that I'll make it as well. In this tiny little studio in Mosley on the top floor, and I'll make him do it. So I did.
What were you making for them?
It was a display stand for the golf clubs, and so that gave me first injection of real money, and so then I wanted a van because I thought if I knew I wanted to grow the studio and things, and then if I want to buy machines and materials and deliver work, then that cost basically can suck your cash flow right up. Like if getting someone to come and so like right, we'll get a van, and then actually then that van becomes a beautiful advertisement around when I'm going around places. So we used the van as beautiful like livery. So I commissioned a friend of mine who was a paper artist, and I was like, I wanted to do the livery totally different than everyone else, and didn't really put much on there other than this graphic. And I basically sat down with Andy. So Andy Singleton is the paper artist, and I was like, I want you to do something. And I knew in my head that it wanted to be, so this is the rocking chair, going back to what was my first product. So I wanted the rocking chair, the product as the centre, but then growing out into this kind of tree. And if you go on the Instagram, you might be able to, so commissioning to do this paper, and then scanned it in, and then vectorized it, turned it into a piece to go on the side of the van. I'm not sure if it's got an image of the van, but going to further this. So then I was like, actually, to push the branding and Lazerian more, I commissioned another friend of mine who was an animator. Got Jack to animate this paper cup, which then I was like, right, I've now got something else to then open a conversation with other outlets, other agencies and things where so go on CD, you couldn't really email massive things at the time, and USB sticks, and sent them out as an introduction as to this is Lazerian, come here, have a chat, and that opened some beautiful doors. And what I come to realise is that everything is a long lead. I think especially in the creative industries, you can't expect to go and meet somebody and a door being open. So that was the rocking chair, and so yeah, things take time, and I think so. This was the paper cup, and so these beautiful flowing forms, and at the time, so early on, the mascot for Lazerian was squirrel. So there's the squirrel hid in the tree, and then keep going on. So there's the squirrel, and then I've still got the paper cup.
That's beautiful, isn't it?
And then the animation just brought it to life. So I didn't really want much on there other than just what's Lazerian, because I think when people see Lazerian,
So, Joe, we were wondering how you pronounce Lazerian. But for ages, like when we were chatting with Claire and stuff, and everything. Talking about Liam. Joe thought we were talking about someone called Ian.
Yep, Lazerian.
Lazerian.
I've had laser brain as well.
Oh yeah.
So Lazerian is actually my dad's middle name. So when I was setting up the studio, I didn't want to just.
Lazerian is.
Lazerian, dad's middle name. William James Lazerian Hopkins.
Wow.
And fucking, I didn't know this. Until I was trying to, I was like, I didn't want to just call the studio Liam Hopkins. I wanted something that actually triggers that. Like, what is it? What does it even mean? How do you pronounce it? And straight. So this is the animation. So yeah, when I was sat down and was just chatting with family and what have you, and I was like, I don't know what to call it, and I was chatting about names, and my dad said, "Oh, my middle name was there," and so I was like, "That's it, that's perfect." And it's actually from where he's Irish, and it was where he was born. So his name was Saint Lazerian, and it's a Lazerian well. So when we go and visit, it's still there.
Of course, we got Lazerian college, haven't we? So, give us a picture. Obviously, that's where you started, and we see where you are now. What have some of been like the milestones for you when you look back? Because now, I guess, I'm guessing, but and I really want to hear the hustle side of it, because I think sometimes, and this might just be me being a flaky creative, but I remember the times when I've had to hit the phones early on. I remember January, just the first January that was dead. I just thought, oh shit, like this is the end of everything that never really got started. And I started hitting the phones and ringing people. I did web design back in the day, but I was ringing like restaurants and hotels and just anybody that had a phone number just to see if they wanted a website. But I was so bad at it that I'd just go, I was just ringing to see if I could, maybe you want a website or Mac. Probably don't, but maybe they went, no thanks. I'm like, I'm really sorry to have troubled you. I put the phone down and just move on to the next one. It was horrible soul destroying. And now I think sometimes you send a couple of emails, you don't get any feedback, and I'm like, right, I'm done. So being reminded of the hustle and actually pushing some doors open, and we've had that in the last little while. It looks a bit different now, but we're still having to, get out there and knock on some doors and step over some awkward things, and you think, oh, they won't want to hear from me, or they'll just think I'm a taker or something, and actually realizing, A, you're good and you've got something good to offer, and B, what you like helping, and then also being being in the right place at the right time is so much a part of my story, and it probably is yours if you think back. It can only be the right time if you are in the right place quite often. And then it's just waiting for it to drop, isn't it? So that long lead time, I think, is a real good reminder for me. Even in the last 2 weeks, I had someone call me who I met 12 years ago. And they went, oh, do you remember me like 12 years ago? Had this conversation. It never went anywhere. Well, we're ready. Like, bloody hell. It could have been on our fourth business by then. But, so it's great to be reminded of that and encouraged about how, I think sometimes, especially early on in my career, I thought if we make something brilliant, everyone will notice and they'll come flocking, and that never.
I think it's even like hard now, because it's so much more accessible and to go out and which means it's so much more saturated. So I think people, especially as creatives, then kind of worry that, well, there's all this stuff out there. It's just literally, a needle in a haystack. And I think what we sometimes forget as creatives is worry about everything else that we're doing, but not on yourself. So you're kind of really good at sorting out everyone else's problems, but you forget about sorting your own out.
Yeah.
So over the years, done and I've always kind of like actually trying to be creative with that kind of marketing myself and the studio. And I remember a few years in, I think probably about three years into the setting up, and it had gone a bit low, and I was like, well, how can I do stuff with, because these big brands and big studios and artists and things, and they have shitloads of budget to do stuff. And you're like, I haven't got that kind of budget, and actually, how can I create a bit of getting under the right nose and things? So, I think it was about 3 years in, I decided actually, people that's going to commission me or buy products or buy sculpture or whatever it is, then they need money. So it's like, how can I go and target with money? Essentially a bit of taste. So I was like, well, if they've got a car that's worth 100 grand plus, then I know that potentially they might have money or no money, and it's not bullshit. But they should have some money. So I was like, actually, if I go and put something on the car, then that's that introduction into, what I do. So I managed to get a load of old car packing fine wallets, and I made an introduction to Lazerian compliment on car. You obviously got great taste, so you can, commission and we can have a chat. So I thought, there's quite a lot of football in Manchester. So I went over to Carrington and got chatting with the security there and managed to put a few on some vehicles.
In town?
Yeah, and then I thought I'll carry this on, so I went round the city, and then got in. About a week later, police come knocking at the door. We've had some complaints. Can you stop putting this on vehicles, because it's illegal. I don't know why it's illegal. I think probably because they're actually official wallets, but the inside was so it's like, and I like that thing of actually giving someone some worry. It's like, so then that's like, and then it left it, and
Obviously not for someone.
no, yeah, but I think that just sums up people. You've got some nice people, you've got some boring people, haven't you?
And so did that come to anything? Or
Yeah, there was a few things that come out of the back of that.
commission from the police?
And then what else did I do? I did a few other, just nice ways of getting out. But I think it's important as creatives to remember to put yourself out there. Try and not get done by police.
So what are some of the other milestones for you, right? The commissions that you look back on thinking?
So a few years in, I was probably about 5 years in, I realised that what I set out to do was not what I wanted as happiness. So I've grown Lazerian as a brand and a studio. I had some great outlets and galleries and things, and I've got the production and lighting in some of the best hotels in the world, and some amazing outlets and things. But the way I would design them, there is only I knew how to make them, and I had a small team of people, and I had a product range that I'd built up. I think it had probably, I don't know, 50 products, which is quite a lot for a small output. So I was getting orders for, multiples of some. And once I'd made something a few times, and I think that's the issue with being great, and the love goes out of it, and then I want to go on to the next thing. And then I had investors that wanted to come in, and then I didn't want to do that, because then I'd have to answer to someone else. So I had to make them a business, so I'd grow Lazerian as a lifestyle brand, or do I pursue what I set out to do, be happy in what I do, which was to create and to make, be a big part of that journey rather than designing and handing something over to someone else. And so that was a big step, because then I had to then restructure the studio as to, actually, this is not a lifestyle brand anymore, this is an art practice. That took a little bit of a shift to then turn around. And the thing that changed, I got, so I'd done a lot of work in cardboard, because early on, I didn't have much money for material, but we could freely get over cardboard. And that went out. I ended up working on a TV program called Four Rooms, if you remember that. So they had like antique dealers, and then you go around and then they'd offer you a certain amount of money. And I refused 20 grand for one of them. One of them offered me £1, but then they go, oh, we'll mentor you. And I refused them all. But it left us with great. And then I shown this cardboard range out in Milan, design week, and then got picked up, and I got a commission for Bloomberg's headquarters for a project called Waste Not Wanted. And so went back to like the material side, always materials that had another life for sustainable things. And Bloomberg's got their own recycling centre, but they don't let anything that they use go out of their remit. So I was let free in this recycling centre. Say, you want? Ideally, they want something like that. So I designed this huge meeting area, or like meeting space for Bloomberg. Called it Cooper. I don't know if you might not be on the Instagram, but this was quite early on. This is probably about maybe 15 years ago now. And I had a tiny laser bit, and so much of this was done by hand. You look at this. It was made in commission. I made all the chairs out of old pallets. So it was all that cardboard, and there's quite a little funny backstory.
Where is Bloomberg?
London.
Okay.
So got a phone call going, well, we absolutely love it, but we need to change floors. Need to move it. Oh, mate, what? So so if you go down this and over image, so all these was from old pallets that was put together and then turned, and then so when it was on the floor above, this was actually 4 meters long, and it had the shape was totally different. So because I had to change floors down, I had to spend then a week working nights in the place and redo it. But it was an amazing project. You know, I don't have any regrets in this, and this kind of was a pivotal moment of the studio being recognised for what I kind of set out to do, really, which was to kind of get people to question the mundane and use materials that you'd never really put in that environment. And this got pressed worldwide. It ended up centre stage spread in Interior Design magazine in New York, and it won Best Interior Installation at Frame magazine. And so yeah, that was quite a kind of good shift, and that led on to some other beautiful projects. It was straight off the back of that was commissioned from Habitat. You know Habitat, right? So they were going through that weird shift where they didn't know what they were doing. They got sold out, and they opened a gallery in Chelsea, and the editor from Wallpaper magazine was curating the exhibition. She loved to commission to do something in the gallery, and basically using materials from Habitat. So they were launching a new wallpaper range. So basically use wallpaper as a means of being able to create structural form, to create these cloud form, geometric cloud formations. And I added a cloud each week. So in this gallery space, or the space, 2 months, it went from one cloud to then just being full of these geometric cloud formations. So that was quite nice. And again, using materials in that kind of excites me, you know.
Did I see the Skoda?
Yeah, so
Did you see the whole-
this was come a bit after, so then, because the cardboard, I started to get a lot of inquiries for like cardboard sculptures and things. So I got commissioned from Skoda to launch one of their cars, the Skoda Rock. But what was beautiful about this project was, so I made the car look life size out of cardboard. But we asked 100 school children if they was to go and buy a new car, what would they inside? So there was the Nintendo Switch in the dashboard, which this. Yeah, and then there was a ball pit in the boot, and there's a little hideout in the front engine bay, so you'd access it from the passenger side, and you go in, and there's little like peepholes and ports and things, and there's a slide in there, and there's a projector on a roof. But from outside, it was like this big picture of,
And is that the one they used in the TV ad? Yeah. So I remember the TV ad. I didn't realise it was you that had done it.
Yeah. So and it was great really, because one of the other things when I was at college was I always loved cars. I was even looking at the old going what notes to buy. I'm glad that I didn't, because everything that I've wanted to do early on has culminated in what I do anyway. So then got commissioned off Skoda, and then that led into working with a few other car brands, and then Formula E got in touch, so Envision Racing, so they wanted to use the Formula E. So then they commissioned me to make Gen 2 car out of all non-recyclable plastic waste. I travelled around the world and got launched at COP. I was 25 or 24. That went wild, and then they commissioned me again to make
And that's completely made out of plastics, doesn't it?
yeah. And then they commissioned me again to do another one for the new gen out of all electronic waste. Yeah, so this is the one out of electronic waste, and so I did it so it actually drove. So literally all out of electronic waste. So that literally up to a year ago was something like 1.5 worldwide across different things that's done. Yeah.
So talk to us about, obviously there's loads of individual projects we've talked about, but in terms of the process for you, is it usually someone gets in touch with you, a brand or whatever, or public art, something like that, and then do they think to it, or like most of the room, you probably get clients who are over our shoulder a bit and stuff. What talk us through the process. Like, do you pitch the ideas, or
I don't want to just be a producer. So when they get in touch, kind of make sure that I don't just want to make something that they've already got a vision for. It's like, I don't mind working with a brief, but I don't want to just make something that, because then you have to go for production. You know, I like, there's something beautiful about working with a creative, that you need to let them breathe some life in. Otherwise, the campaign that you want to do, or that you know, the brand might think is right, is not always right. They think they're right. But if you let a creative run with their ideas, then they get a lot more out of it. And I think if you can work with the clients that have that mindset and appreciate that, then it works for both sides. And if they're not, I don't want to work with them. It's like, I want a happy life. You know.
So the brief comes in, and are you straight into like I mean, I've been in your studio and towards Hyde, isn't it? Off Hyde Road, and it's honestly like, I mean, it's huge, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's like an Aladdin then, weird. what like just. But are you straight into the stuff and next stuff, or are you sketching things? Like, what's your way of getting ideas out of your head?
A bit of all of it, really. I like sketching. I like actually, depending on what it is, but getting hold of the materials, forming it, and understanding actually that might work. And then go onto the computer, and then a bit of that, and then like do in the workshop. And there's always there's probably 70-80% physical, and then 20% digital. For me, that's where the soul comes into it. I think when you're just producing something that's digital model, 3D printed, done, it's soul. Same way, like, you know, you design it, CNC cut it, and then done. And that's fine for like product or. But if you want something with meaning and connection, I think it needs to have a makers and a creative touch. And that's hugely been important. It's combining that kind of almost the kind of heritage and the craft with modern day craft at the digital side. But I think for me the balance is you know, it always outweighs the more physical and craft than the digital.
And then are you pitching the idea back to the client, like, or do they leave you to it?
The majority of the time they leave me to it, and it depends on the project. So it all depends. So like public art, I've done quite a lot of like permanent public art pieces now, and for me is that if you're doing something in the public realm, is that you need to let the people breathe some life into it. So usually we get asked, or if I go forward for a public art commission, I very rarely go with an actual idea. It's more a thought process, because we need to let people be part of that, which then shapes something. I find it crazy, especially with public art, is that people put something forward and it's got no relationship or connection with us. And then people understand why they're not connected with it or got no meaning with it. It's like, because they fucking don't know what it's about. It's like if you let the people who are living with them actually, you know, be part of that process. So I do like workshops. So I've got a little mobile studio as well. I converted an old 1950s van into a mobile studio. So I'll go around and do little workshops and things with people. And sometimes at workshop, just sitting down and chatting with people, because the stories can take you creatively to somewhere to make that piece, you know, and then go. So I just find it mentally that with something, you can't go in with a final idea without understanding that area of the people.
And then that informs the rest of the process. And
Yeah, exactly. And then that goes then into then start doing, sketches, then models. And I love maquettes and small some maquettes. I don't know what maquettes is, but it's like a scale model. So I love them because then, people love the own better understanding of what it is. And, it's great 3D models and things, but sketchy. For me, if you've got a little thing, people relate to it more. And I can see it as well, is that unfortunately something might look right on a screen, but then in real life. I don't think
have you had any stinkers? Like, jobs that just didn't go right?
There's a few, but I think that you've got to understand that not everything goes plain sailing, and it's annoying sometimes. And you want to do something, and then actually the client or they then try and morph it into this, and you're so then invested anyway that you kind of like you go with it to a degree, but then you'll like lose a love because you're like, what are you doing? You just, if you would have left it to it, you would have done so much more from it.
I'll know that one.
So I think that if you can work with the right people, it's hard because then in some places that when you showing them everything, 80% of the time they're not creative people, so then it's kind of like to then understand what it is. Yeah.
Can we thank Liam for